And on Prime today, Public Accounts Committee of Parliament cites Zoom Lion for several irregularities in their dealings with district assemblies, as it recommends that the district assembly's common fund stops payment to Zoom Lion.
The committee established that Zoom Lion Ghana Limited was paid some money but failed to supply the necessary sanitation equipment to the various assemblies.
Details from Parliament as former Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu fights the company practice of paying its workers who sweep town less than 30% of the amount received from government. Now, also, Minority in Parliament alleges that the Finance Ministry is seeking to give businesses aligned to the government up to 12 billion cedis in tax exemptions.
We have about 5.5 billion tax exemptions, waiting at the Ministry of Billion, waiting at the Finance Committee for exemption.
Also, government begins payment of over $40 million judgment debt to Trafigura as the Finance Ministry issues a directive to the Controller and Accountant General to pay $20 million of the debt. Well, former Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor is calling for investigations into the matter. Now, the Minority in Parliament is claiming the Finance Ministry is seeking more than 7 billion cedis in fresh tax exemption request, despite another 5.5 billion cedis in exemption request pending. This 12 billion cedis in tax exemption request are all before the Finance Committee of Parliament, with the Minority blocking the approval of the initial 5.5 billion cedis. However, the Trades Minister has been responding, insisting the waivers are a key and important part of the government's 1D1F. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Sante reports.
Ghana has been giving out billions of Ghana cedis in tax waivers, whilst at the same time taxing citizens billions to try and make up for the shortfall in budget expenditure. The Minority have been on a collision course with the government, asking it to stop bringing so many tax waiver requests to Parliament. In fact, there are about 5.5 billion Ghana cedis worth of tax waivers that are currently sitting in Parliament. The House is refusing to take action on them because the Minority are simply not allowing them to go through. According to Ranking Member on the Trade, Tourism and Industry Committee, Yusuf Suleimana, and also the MP for Bolibamboy, government is bringing in a new wave of requests totaling about 7 billion Ghana cedis.
The unfortunate thing is that whilst we are taxing the poor Ghanaian to raise this revenue, we are also at the same time granting tax waivers to friends and, if you like, family members. For instance, we have about 5.5 billion tax exemptions, waiting at the Ministry of Billion, waiting at the Finance Committee for exemptions. We have also been reliably informed, and we are speaking because we have seen documents that suggest that they are bringing another 7 billion tax waivers request to Parliament. Now, if you put the two together, you are talking about 12.5 billion Ghana cedi tax exemptions.
Yusuf Suleimana says it does not make sense that government is giving out such huge amounts of money in tax waivers and turning around to tax its citizens around 11 billion Ghana cedis in the 2024 budget.
Here you are wanting to grant 12.5 billion Ghana cedis to your friends and your family members in the name of tax exemptions and the 1D, 1F. At the same time, you are imposing taxes to the tune of 11 billion. I mean, can you just suppose the two? You are taxing the common Ghanaian, the poor Ghanaian, to raise 11 billion for your development agenda for the 2024 financial year.
But Minister for Trade and Industry, K.T. Hammond, has been responding. He says these tax exemptions are such a key pillar of government's 1D1F.
Well, if he says it doesn't make sense to him, I'm beginning to wonder whether his own mathematics, his own arithmetic makes any sense. I don't know the figures that he's talking about. I haven't looked at the figures. is a specific government policy to ensure that local production is encouraged. Hence our 1D, 1F. Now, embedded in the 1D, 1F initiative program is the fact that those companies which have managed to raise some money from whatever capital source that they have, and they have decided that they have the confidence in the Ghanaian economy, and they have decided to invest in the economy, they are to be incentivized. And one of the ways in which we intend to incentivize them is to grant them exemptions. It is done everywhere.
Parliament is set to go on break on the 22nd of December for Christmas. Before then, it would have close to 12 billion Ghana cedis worth of tax exemptions that it has to consider. There are so many companies which are waiting for government to take a decision on these waivers for them to come to town to do businesses. At some point, the Minister for Trade and Industry, who was frustrated by the lack of action on these waivers, filed a question in an unprecedented fashion to the chairman of the Finance Committee, a member of his own party, trying to get some responses on these matters. But not much came out of that, and the minority have been able to still have their way in blocking it. In fact, at some point, the minority put out a list of companies they believed were affiliated to the government and were getting huge tax breaks by way of exemptions. But in the coming days, it will be interesting to see if these waivers will come to the floor for a decision. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
So let's get deeper into this matter and find out what the IMF thinks about this. You know that we are under an IMF program. Obviously, they'll have a say on this. Kofi Ajay is with our research desk, and he joins me in studio now. Kofi, what do we know about these waivers under the IMF program?
Well, the fund's position is very clear, and we've indicated this in yellow and then also in violet or maybe pink, if you can see it over there. And their position is very simple. They believe that revenue mobilization or revenue measures is actually key in making this IMF ECF program very successful. And if you are going to do that, then you need to focus on this keyword, removing VAT exemptions, which according to the IMF, so they had a team that visited Ghana. It's called the IMF Fiscal Affairs Department. They visited Ghana and they actually came up with these tax measures, and they feel that if you're able to remove just VAT exemptions, we will be able to add about 2% of Ghana's GDP to our revenue. So we decided to do some arithmetics. You know, the trade minister is talking about arithmetics. So we decided to do that and see 2% of the GDP, if you use the most current data provided in the summary sheets provided by the Bank of Ghana, the 2% of Ghana's GDP, we are looking at somewhere around 17 billion Ghana cedis, which is around $1.7 billion.
Okay.
This is tax exemptions on VAT only. Yes, we are looking at 17 billion or 1.7 billion dollars.
Now, and $1.7 billion is just $1.3 billion shy of the $3 billion
that we are getting from the IMF. So basically what the fund is saying is that even our own program, for it to be very successful, you need to make sure that some of these revenue measures like the removal of VAT exemption, and they also talk about customs exemptions, very important. The ports, you see people giving exemptions a lot. So if you add the customs exemption versus the VAT, which cuts across board, then the figure could be higher than even the 17 billion Ghana cedis that we are actually projecting.
Okay.
In the same IMF program, you will find a table on revenue mobilization. And in fact, in 2023 this year, tax exemption is heavy on that bill. So IMF is still looking at about 9 tax measures or 9 policies that they feel that if government is able to do, will save the economy some 1% of GDP. 1% of GDP using current figures, we are looking at somewhere around 8.5 or 8.6 billion Ghana cedis. If you are able to do that, or if we took these line items into consideration, then we should be adding about 9 billion Ghana cedis to our revenue just by doing some of these things, the e-levy, review or reforms, and then even the revision of VAT exemptions.
Okay, so that this is 1%. Also part of the revision or the removal of exemptions is part of what
it's part. If you're able to do, I think there are about 8 or 9. If you're able to do all of that, we can add about 1% to of our GDP in terms of tax to our tax revenue, which if we calculate using the current figures, we are looking at somewhere around 9 billion Ghana cedis, which is very significant. We need that money currently. So that's the IMS position. They are saying that removal of VAT and then other tax exemptions is very key in achieving the revenue mobilization targets that has been set in the program.
A very interesting analysis there. Let's see how Parliament will deal with this particular exemptions that is before them. Now, to other stories now. And Zoomlion Ghana Limited has been cited by the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament for a number of irregularities in its dealings with district assemblies across the country. According to the committee's report, Zoomlion was paid some monies by the District Assembly's Common Fund for the supply of some equipment, but the company did not supply the equipment contrary to the law. Listen to member of Parliament of the committee, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamapo, recount some of the irregularities and their recommendation that the fund must be recovered from Zoomlion.
The committee established that Zoomlion Ghana Limited was paid some monies but failed to supply the necessary sanitation equipment to the various assemblies. Mr. Speaker, the committee determined that deductions were made from the accounts of 2 assemblies and paid to Zoomlion for the supply of sanitation, for equipment to improve the sanitation in the areas under what they call the Sanitation Improvement Program, which is SIP. However, the company did not supply the items to the assemblies, contrary to Regulation 79 of the PFM Act. Regulation 79 of the PFM Regulation 2019 LI 2378. And Mr. Speaker, the details as established by the committee are as follows. The BNE annual superpie. Mr. Speaker, 3 skip tracks and 20 number 12 cubic meters refuse containers, Mr. Speaker, were to have been supplied, but they were not. Out of the 3, 1 was not supplied, and 4 refuse containers between the period January 2019 to December 2021. Mr. Speaker, what I think as a committee we can also do is at the time that we are submitting the report, we could also obtain an update that between the period of the default, whether at the time we are presenting the report, the irregularity has been regularized. The other dispute involved is the Mampo Municipal, where, again, 3 skip tracks and 20 number 12 cubic meter refuse containers. 1 of the skip tracks was not supplied, and 8 refuse containers was also not supplied. Again, paragraph 7 sub 3 of the report established that Zoomlion again failed to, even though some monies were deducted from 4 assemblies for similar services, that is the fumigation services in these respective assemblies, the services were not undertaken, and that's Echumangwa North District. Service not provided. The indication is that the broken down skip track was not repaired or replaced. Mr. Speaker, Bekwai Municipal, that is the rating of the public market fumigation. Mr. Speaker, it was not done between January 2019 and December 2021. The recommendation of the committee is that the administrator of the Common Fund should stop the deductions that goes to Zoomlion as a result of the implementation of the SIP program until the outstanding services are rendered and verified by the Assembly.
And still on Zoomlion, former Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu wants the state and Parliament in particular to do more for sanitation workers with Zoomlion. Haruna Idrisu explains that it does not make sense for the state to pay Zoomlion around 800 cedis for each sanitation worker, but the workers receive less than 300 cedis of that amount. He wants the government to directly pay the Zoomlion sanitation workers.
Zoomlion. When we passed the Youth Employment Act, and leader will recall even some of the negotiations in his office, we said that separate beneficiary allowances from service charges. Zoomlion is a service provider. Let Common Fund and the state pay him as a private contractor engaged to provide sanitation. But when you give him 800 and beneficiaries end up getting 200 or 250, I do not think that that is neat enough or good enough. We should have a way of dealing with beneficiary allowances. It should go straight to those in the sanitation model. I still even recall that far back 2016, Mr. Speaker, as minister then, I wrote to the Youth Employment Agency to audit the numbers for the sanitation model. When you say you have 45,000 persons on the sanitation model, where? And the youth employment must separate beneficiary allowances from what they give him as service provider. Then finally, Mr. Speaker, you see it in paragraph 7.3 when they are talking about payments which are contrary.
So we've contacted Zoomlion for a response on this story, but they tell us they will rather issue a statement. So when they do, we'll share that with you. Away from that, a minority in Parliament is pushing for the immediate reversal of a new government directive that public hospitals must pay their electricity bills using their internally generated fund, IGF. The Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, made this directive, which took effect on June 1st. Samuel Okwejoto-Ablakwa described the new policy as outrageous and must be reversed. More from him shortly, but listen to MP for Tyne, Adama Suleimana, who delivered a statement after the major hospital in his constituency was disconnected due to its indebtedness to the tune of 7 million cedis.
The operations theatre that is directly connected to the central air conditioning system, without which there is practically no aeration within. The suggestion to put up a split air conditioning system will also lead to loss of luminal or unidirectional airflow in the theatre. Mr. Speaker, due to the latest disconnection, the following is the current state of the hospital. All surgeries have been put on hold and have been referred to the Methodist Hospital in Wenchi. All referrals to the facility are also being directed to nearby district hospitals. The light wave health information management system for seeing patients and prescribing can be used. Thus, patients are being seen on sheets of papers without access to their medical history and equipment. Water pumps within the facility is totally dependent on electricity and shut down within 30 minutes of an outage. Thus, taps are currently running dry in the facility. Communication systems are all linked to electricity, which have also been shut down. Mr. Speaker, I am by this statement calling on you and the House to urge government to take up the over 7 million Ghana cedis bill cost of electricity to help maintain this modern facility, serving the good people of Tyne and Bana districts. These districts are considered deprived and can't in any way take up the full cost of operating this facility.
Kweku Asante is in Ghana's parliament and joins us with some details. Kweku, the chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee, Atache, wanted to know how the hospital accumulated that much debt.
Indeed, because the average that was put before Parliament by the majority leader, for instance, is that district hospitals of such nature spend just about 150,000 Ghana cedis in terms of electricity bills every month. Okay. And so if the hospital has accumulated about 7 million Ghana cedis in the last year, it will mean that they've been spending around 500,000 Ghana cedis in terms of debt accumulation every month. And that was big enough for the chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee, who opined that despite the fact that hospitals are critical facilities that must run, it appears to him that because of the huge losses the ECG, NEDCO have been making over the years, they must also be supported to recoup this amount of money. Listen.
A hospital will thrive on power supply. I cannot imagine that somebody is on the operating theater, operating table, and then there's a power disconnection. So we are all very much sensitive to the nature a hospital is run and how we should respect human beings. Honorable Speaker, the maker of the statement is very, very sensitive to the plight of fellow Ghanaians and associate myself with him. Sometimes it's not just the fact that we don't care about people, but how the hospital is also run. He never divulged to us under what span of time there was an accumulation of electricity bill to the tune of 7 million Ghana cedis. Meanwhile, we are aware that over time there are some charges that some should be used to settle some of these payments. So there are management challenges as well, and we should pry into that. And why should the management of a hospital be conducted in a manner that the hospital will come to owe 7 million?
Well, Kweku, Samuel Okojito-Ablakwa wants this decision or directive to be rescinded. What's the basis of his call?
Well, according to Samuel Okojito-Ablakwa, hospitals across the country are struggling. And not so many hospitals can come up with so much money to pay electricity bills. And so that proposal and that directive that has since been enforced from the health ministry, that these hospitals must pay their electricity bills directly using their internally generated fund, is completely outrageous. This is not something that must be made to stand, and wants Parliament to actually impress on the health minister to rescind that directive.
The Honorable Chairman of the Energy and Mines Committee has talked about the accumulation of bills and that we should look at the management style of hospitals across the country. But what the Honorable Chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee, my good friend, the Honorable Atachia, who I have enormous respect for, failed to ask a fundamental question. Whose duty was it to pay? Who has accumulated the arrears? They were told in June that the new policy from the Ministry of Finance is that government will no longer absorb the electricity bills and that they have to raise the funds themselves. It is June this year that the policy changed. Only this year, June. Only June this year. I mean, it's a matter I have pursued because the Bator Catholic Hospital, Mr. Speaker, will you believe that their ECG bills, they have to pay 115,000 cedis monthly. 150,000. And sometimes their entire IGF for the whole month doesn't get to this amount. And they say that not too long ago, they used to pay just about 57,000 cedis. So the bills are going up. And we are talking about human lives. And you disconnect hospitals. Imagine you are at theater, you are being operated upon. It can happen to any of us. We are constantly on the move. You are touring your constituency, and God forbid there's an accident, they need to perform emergency surgery on you, and then the lights go off like that. At least, as for hospitals, they must be exempted from these disconnections. They have to be exempted.
Well, let's listen to the directive of the Speaker, Alban Bagbin.
I'm happy to hear that power has indeed been restored to the facility. But I think I will direct that the Ministry of Health and that of Energy should work together to find a lasting solution with regards to our hospitals in relation to their electricity bills. Because hospitals, whether you like it or not, are considered to be essential facilities, and they should not experience power cuts in whatever form. So I would direct that the Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Health should put themselves together and come out with a solution as to how this electricity bills, because today's time that has come up, but listening to contributors, it appears it cuts across most of the hospitals in the country. And again, based on the recommendation, we will refer this statement to the Health Committee to also look into the matter.
That was Second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Andrew Amwako Esiama there. This is still the Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Do stay. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Electoral Commission is gearing up for the district elections across the nation on Tuesday. The EC has set up an ambitious target of 60% voter turnout in various districts, including conflict-prone areas such as Boko and Nkwanta, where efforts are being intensified to ensure a smooth and secure electoral process. Deputy Commissioner in charge of Corporate Services, Dr. Bosman Asare, says the Commission is confident of a high turnout due to Intern's media campaign. Here are excerpts of his conversation with my colleague, Mame Esinyamiche Thompson.
I think for us, we have a mandate that is clearly defined in the Constitution. And it's very, very clear that we are in charge of organizing. But as an institution which is also a major stakeholder as far as the development, the democracy of our country is concerned, we've gone out of our way running several commercials, TV promos, radio, broadcast advertising, telling Ghanaians that we have elections on December 19 from 7 a.m. To 5 p.m. at all our polling stations. And we are doing that on several TV stations. We are doing that on several radio stations. And individually, our officers in the districts are going to the churches, they are going to the mosques, they are going to the market centers, telling people about the district level election. So as an institution, we are very much committed. We know that if many people go out there and they vote, it inures to our benefit as an institution, because it will send a clear signal that many people are taking part in the democratic process. So we are going out of our way to ensure that everyone takes part. And this interview we are having this morning is a clear indication that we want many Ghanaians, as many as possible, to get the information that the district level elections are just imminent, just next week, so they should prepare themselves. We know there are many people who registered in their hometowns and they may be living outside the hometown. So we want the information to get to them so that they will be adequately prepared to go to these places to go and exercise the franchise.
Well, talking about the measures you've put in place too, but I want to know the response you're getting, because just yesterday we spoke to the local government minister, Dan Botche, who is saying that they anticipate over 50% participation. In your own way, I mean, what has been the response since your education? I mean, what you just spoke about, has the response been positive?
No, I think from our perspective, the response has been very, very positive, largely because, you know, in 2019, we had almost about 38% turnout nationally. But this time, based on the feedback we are getting from the commercials we are running, and you know, we have this thing we do, which is in the law called platform mounting, right, where those who are contesting as assembly members will go from one community to another community to engage in debates and tell people about their manifestos, what they intend doing for their electoral areas. And the information coming to us is that the enthusiasm level is very, very high. People are participating in their numbers. So we are also looking at something between 50 to 60%. Currently, as we speak now, we are deploying our equipment, we are deploying our ballot papers, we are deploying almost all the essential materials that are required for us to have a very, very successful election. So
now, 29-year-old Zainab Al-Hassan is seeking to make history as the first lady to ever contest the district-level elections in the Kokote electoral area in the Ashanti region. Competing against 3 men, she hopes to improve the current state of the Kokote market and curtail high teenage pregnancy rate in her area. Anita Sewa Ajoga puts a spotlight on female participation in local governance ahead of the upcoming local election on December 19.
In 2012, there were 29 representing 11% females and 246 representing 89% males among the 275 members of parliament. After the 2016 general elections, Ghana's parliament recorded 35 representing 13% female MPs and 240 representing 87% male MPs out of the 275 members of parliament, while the 2020 general elections recorded 40 female MPs representing 14.5% and 235 representing 85.4% male MPs. The situation at the local assembly level is even worse, signifying a decline. Zainab Al-Hassan reviews some of the challenges she has faced when she decided to contest the district level election.
I would say it was a mixed reaction. And so a lot of people are happy that I came up. Then there's the other side. Of course, you can't aspire for any political position and not expect the other side to come at you. We've had people tell me that, oh, you're a woman, go and concentrate on marriage. You're a woman, do this. People actually came to my father to tell him to ask me to step down. They didn't come once, they didn't come twice. They came several times. And I believe it's because they think I am a woman. Because we have 4 other men contesting. Why are you not asking them to step down, but you're asking me to step down?
Teenage pregnancy and poor sanitation at the Kokote electoral area have been major challenges in the area. Zainab wants to lead a crusade to tackle the menace if elected as assembly member.
I believe as someone who have gone to school, someone who knows a little bit about the going in and out of the assembly and everything, I will be the best person to lead my people to get the things that we deserve as Ghanaians. Currently, I work as a research assistant at the Parliament of Ghana. And being at the Parliament, I have seen the things that are handed to MPs to be moved to their various constituencies, to be given to various assemblies in the constituencies. And so seeing all this, it tells me that a lot of things are going on in the country that the citizenry must benefit from. Kokote market is one of the biggest markets we find here. But the market is so dirty, the market is so deprived of a lot of basic things that a thriving market should have. We don't even have security men to protect the market. And the only reason why we are taking it as it is because there's no one who stood up and spoken against it.
Now, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has directed the Comptroller and Accountant General to pay a dollar equivalent of 230,598,000 cedis to Trafigura in a bid to cover a $140 million judgment debt awarded to them by a London court. Trafigura was awarded the right to seize and sell property belonging to Ghana in the United Kingdom following the cancellation of a power purchase agreement in 2017. Property belonging to the Ghana International Bank in London was something that was attached for a possible auction. Let me share with you details of this letter from the Finance Minister. It says, you are hereby authorized to release the sum of 230,598,000 cedis, being the CD equivalent of $20 million at an exchange rate of $1 to 11 cedis, 52 pesos, to the Chief Director, Ministry of Finance, to enable the ministry make part settlement of the arbitral award to GPGC Limited in relation to the above-mentioned case. 2, the total expenditure of 230,598,000 should be charged as per the attached specific warrant. That's the letter there. Now, Imani Africa is one of the CSOs that also believe there should be an investigation into the matter when the issue first came up. According to them, the basis on which the Attorney General advised for the contract to be abrogated needs to be made known. Dennis Asari is with Imani, and he joins us via phone now. Dennis, grateful for joining us. Now that we've started paying, is your call still relevant because we started paying?
Yes. Good evening, Samuel, and thanks for having me, and good evening to your viewers as well. I believe that once someone has an award against the state, it is right that the state takes steps. And we know that this award has been long, as far back as 2021. And when the state delayed in making fulfillment to the award that the tribunal gave, you realize that the Trafigura took steps to recover what was due them. And so now that the state has taken steps, I think that it's a step in the right direction. You remember that when Trafigura took steps to attack some of our properties, the Attorney General's office, as well as the Ghana High Commission in the UK, took steps to initiate some negotiation and engagement to ensure that we settle this war. So I think that, yes, the call is so good, given that, Grace, we have a very bad history with judgment debt in this country. If you look at the Sole Commissioner's report in 2015, that was compiled by the Center for Social Justice, between 2000 and 2019, about $1.84 billion was just spent on judgment debt. And this is almost equivalent to how much we spent on cocoa roads between 2010 and 2021. So some money that could have gone into development issues are being sort of, for the lack of a better word, wasted on debt that can be avoidable. And if you look at the Sole Commissioner's report, you realize that about 73% of these judgment debts are contractual breaches. Contracts that Ghana failed to perform its aspect of the bid, and of which mostly arises when there is a change of government. And so our call for an investigation is to ensure that at every point in time, using this Trafigura case as some sort of remark that we are going to take steps to avoid some of these contractual breaches that lead to expensive judgment, especially in the energy sector, where some of these contractual breaches can be very painful. So I think that our call for an investigation is to ensure that we take steps to address how we allow politics to override policy when there's a change in government, so that in negotiating some of these contracts or in executing contracts, the state is mindful not to incur losses. These judgment debts are draining our public finances, given our current circumstances where we are still struggling with our external creditors. Domestic revenue mobilization is not really going on well. Sacrificing over 230 million Ghana cedis, which is equivalent to some ministries' budget, just to pay for contractual breaches, which could be avoided. I think it's quite sad. So our call is so valid.
Okay, Dennis, I'm grateful to you for joining us here on Joy News Prime. He is a senior research associate with Imani Africa. This is a Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back. Showbiz. All right, so welcome back to the show, and let's do showbiz now. Jacqueline and Somaya Boa is in the studio. Hi, Jackie. How are you doing?
Brace. I'm good. What about you?
I'm well. I'm excited today because today is the birthday of one of showbiz's great guys. There's this guy in Takoradi called Feeling Daddy. We call him Feeling Daddy Yo.
Okay, who is he?
Today is his birthday.
Okay, is he a musician?
No, he's an entertainment show host.
Oh, okay.
But now has transited into a strong marketer.
Okay, I'd love to meet him right there, though.
You have to, especially when we have Westside Carnival. Come there and meet him.
Definitely. All right, now, in a candid revelation, George Quay, the team lead for Image Bureau, has been shedding light on the challenges faced by creative arts industry in Ghana. In an exclusive interview with Andy Dusty on Hits FM, George Quay is passionately advocating for a crucial transformation in the creative arts sector, a call for Ghanaians to rally behind their own creative talent, fostering a collective triumph.
In a nation adorned with rich artistic heritage, the creative arts industry in Ghana often finds itself yearning for a support system. In an interview with Andy Dusty on Hit FM, team lead of Image Bureau George Quay is urging Ghanaians to champion local talent for shared success.
I know a Nigerian friend who came to watch The Gods Are Not to Blame. He works with the ECOWAS Parliament. He was blown away. You know what he told me? He said, George, I know people that I can call from Nigeria for you guys to go and stage this. But I grew up in Nigeria. I spent all my days in Nigeria. I went to uni in the UK. I have seen The Gods Are Not to Blame staged on various platforms. It has never been this good. In fact, what you guys have done is even better than the original script. It will be a shame for you to go and perform it in Nigeria because it will be an insult to my people. This is from a Nigerian, and that's why he would not support us to take it there. Yeah. But it's a fact. But if it were the other way around, and I keep saying that's another problem we have here, contra flow of global media. We do not deliberately, intentionally, purposefully decide to push ours out there, we are always in a hurry to accept what is coming to us. The one that we can jealously guard, protect, and push out, we will not. Oh, after all, forget them.
He touched on a crucial aspect, the burden of taxes on event centers.
By the time we are done, profit 4,000.
Whoa.
But yeah,
Tell
the tax that you pay was quite huge. The tax that you pay was almost 60,000, if not more. So I'm not sad about paying taxes. I'm happy. But if I would see that I would enter the National Theatre and the air condition is comfortable, it's working nicely. I would enter the National Theatre and the washrooms are good. I would enter the National Theatre and the seats are comfortable. And that is what the government has done with the taxes I have paid. I'll be happy.
Can Ghana redefine its narrative in the creative arts? Well, if you want to see the tourism industry grow, perhaps the government should be sitting down with various actors to find a permanent solution. For Joy News, I am Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
For our Dirty December series, we throw spotlights on kids. Now, kids play an important role in Christmas, and barely 17 days to Christmas, we find out about kids' expectations on Christmas and what Christmas means to them. My colleague Karen Obeng has been interacting with some school children.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Christmas, celebrated on 25th December every year, is a time to make merry. It is also a day to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. For kids, Christmas means...
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Christmas, celebrated on 25th December every year, is a time to make merry. It is also a day to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. For kids, Christmas means more than just remembering the birth of Christ. Here are some school kids sharing their thoughts about Christmas with me. You know, Christmas is also a period of giving. Some of the kids I spoke to say they expect their parents to buy them a lot of gifts. So as we inch closer to the most interesting part of the year, Christmas, here is how some kids are eagerly preparing for the Yuletide.
I wish everyone in the world have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. In this Christmas season, I will be expecting my parents to buy me a laptop and a PlayStation 4. Yeah, thank you. Because the laptop will help me to learn more about computing, because I love computing a lot. And the PlayStation 4, I always to have fun when I'm bored.
I want them to buy me gifts and dress and hats and shoes and hairband.
Hairband and bag.
Yes.
And what else? Tell me all the things you want them to buy for you.
Toys.
You should go out. They should take you out.
I want to have fun.
You want to have fun? When you say fun, what do you mean by fun?
Play video games, have new friends. Christmas hat and Christmas dress.
Christmas hat and Christmas dress. Okay, sing a Christmas song for me.
Long time ago in Bethlehem, so the Holy Bible say, Mary's born child, Jesus Christ was born on Christmas Day. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Karen Obeng's report read to you.
Yeah, Kojo, what do you want for Christmas?
Peace.
Peace. Okay, all right. Now, officially, Singathon Joy Prime is the official media house for the Singathon Challenge, which is happening on 24th to 27th December. So we'll be giving exclusive coverage on YouTube, Facebook. That's the Joy Prime social media pages. Yeah, so our viewers should expect all that.
Okay, all right, then all the best to her. We'll be there to ensure that that's done. The kids were singing, these sort of Christmas songs.
Yeah, we wish you
a
Merry Christmas.
Well, on that note, we thank you so much for being a part of us tonight. There's more news on myjoyonline.com, and we begin wishing you all the best this Christmas. Up next is Prime Business with Pius Kojo Baka. Good evening.